aka Gedeon here for Star Frontiers Gamer. And today I want to welcome you to the 8 days of Star Frontiers Robotics, where every day we will release a video where we do a walkthrough of creating a Star Frontiers robot from the ground up through writing missions and functions. Each of the 8 different types of Star Frontiers robots will be covered on a different day, and a downloadable document will be put in the show notes, where you just click on the link and pull that down, and then you'll be able to use it in your campaign. No, all of the prices we'll be referencing are in the Alpha Dawn expanded rules on page 40 and 41, and we will be referencing additional data on page 47, where the descriptions for robotic equipment reside. So let's get to it. So today's robot is the maintenance robot. And right here we have a photograph of a miniature that I painted. This is a TSR robot miniature. I painted this and then photographed it, positioned within some WorldWorks Mars Station cut and fold paper terrain, which really looks good and made a decent backdrop. So this is the robot we're going to be using for inspiration today. And right off the bat, the miniature dictates a few things to us. And I'm going to try to follow whatever inspiration we use. I'm going to try to follow and mimic that in the actual stat block and description of the robot. Otherwise, what's the point of having inspiration? So right off the bat, we have what I would call more or less a standard robot body. It obviously has hover mode of movement. And you've got this big red face sensor unit up here on him. So I think he's going to have some extra optics, extra sensing type of thing. So let's get right to it. So right here we have the maintenance robot and our worksheet for working on him. I've already put in maintenance here in type of robot. Manufacturer. I already have an idea where I'm going with this, so we're going to say custom. This is not a standard build. This is something that somebody built to suit their own purposes and needs. We're going to go with a level 3 robot. The reason being is I want this robot to be able to talk to the player characters. This will be a maintenance robot on a ship. His body type, well, we'll just go with standard. That seems fairly obvious from the photograph. Standard dictates that he has 100 stamina. Standard body costs 2,000. And the level of robot processor costs 1,000. Now, I should probably bring up the rule book here. And as I talked about before in a previous video, this here standard robot cost table, I want you to ignore this. We are not using this. This is a landmine for you to use because it already incorporates several different things, and it doesn't tell you what's incorporated in that. It's just trying to give the game master a quick and dirty, here's a standard cost for a completed robot. And it gets you in the ballpark of what that robot will cost. So we're going to ignore this because we're pricing this out from the ground up. So let's jump over here to robot levels. We specified robot level 3, and so therefore that's 1,000 credits. We went with standard body, that's 2,000 credits. So I plug those in, and you're following along with that. I'm going to jump back. I will point out before I jump back, type 1 para battery. The standard robot body requires a type 1 para battery to operate, so 500 SCUs, 600 credits, and we'll record that when we get back over to our list here. So power source, we'll add type 1. Type 1 para battery, 500 SCU, and the type 1 para battery costs 600 credits. And I'm recording all of these prices over here on this side, so I can it just keeps track of everything for me, and I can just take the calculator and add them all up quick at the end. Now, movement mode. Movement mode is by type of robot. So let's pull back up the rule book and jump to page 47. So here we are on page 47. And this is the description to various robot equipment. And in here, you have this little table that you consult, and you see that a maintenance robot, if you see my cursor right here, travels 60 meters per turn. That would be unless we do an altered movement mode. Altered movement mode is back here on page 41. And you see that hover, rotor, and rocket all have an associated cost. What these movement modes do is when you pay this cost, you get to upgrade the movement of the robot to that of a vehicle. We don't actually want to do that. The 60 meters per turn is sufficient for this maintenance robot traveling around a ship. It does not need the blinding speed of a hover car. So that would be obnoxious, and it's just not needed, and the extra expense is not needed. So let's jump back over. We're going to put hover and compressed air. And it's going to need the compressed air system because it's operating on a spaceship, and occasionally spaceships are under 0G, so it would need that movement mode then. So we're adding the compressed air for 500. We're converting his legs to hover movement, but we're not paying for the upgrade. So he retains the 60 meters per turn and 30 meters per turn for compressed air. He programs. I think we're actually going to include attack defense. He is a ship's robot, and there's always the chance that you're going to have pirates boarding your ship. You know, it doesn't happen often. But when it does happen, you're going to want every able body to help fight the pirates, and why not your robot? So he is at level 3. His chance to hit in melee and ranged will be 30 plus 10% per level. So that'll be a 60. His initiative modifier will be 6, and that dictates his reaction speed at 60. So we know right away on his programs, he's going to need attack defense. So we've added attack defense, security lock, because you don't like people tampering with your robot. And I'm adding a special engineering program for this robot. So the special engineering program is a damage control program. It allows this robot to read gauges on the engines, the life support, other critical equipment, and report problems as they arise. It also tells the robot how to perform basic cleaning and maintenance in the engineering section. I've assigned a cost, since it's a little bit more involved than like the restrain program. I've assigned a cost of 1,000 credits for this program. That seems about right to me. Good. Now, it's important to remember, maintenance robots are not actually repairing equipment. They're just doing the cleaning, changing of light bulbs, that sort of thing. He's helping to monitor the ship and what's going on, and he will then report that information to the crew. His installed equipment. We said we had to give him some extra sensing equipment, so we're going to give him infrared optics. IR optics. He's monitoring for problems on the ship, so we'll go ahead and give him a toxi rad gauge. That would supply him with some information to report if there's toxic gas, radiation, that sort of thing. And he needs to be able to communicate with the crew, so a chronocom will be installed. And all of this totals up to the infrared optics is 300, chronocom's 100, and the toxi rad gauge is 20. So the total cost there is 420. And then if we add up all of these costs, that will total 7,020 credits for this custom robot. And we're going to just, for our data source or inspiration is Star Frontiers miniature. So let's consider his mission and functions. So his mission is going to be to monitor the life support, power, engineering systems of the ship and report problems to crew. Notice all of these words that I've done in all caps: monitor, crew, performance, perform maintenance. These will all have their own function. So he is to monitor the life support, power engineering systems of the ship, report problems to crew, as well as perform maintenance under the direction of the crew. When directed by the crew, defend the ship against hostile boarding actions using a tax defense program. So here's our functions. Monitor, to daily read gauges and report when system parameters are outside of norms listed in the DC monitoring program. That was that special engineering program we just created. Perform maintenance, using DC monitoring program to clean life support, plumbing, and engineering areas. Function 3, the ship is defined by a deck plan. So you just put that, and whatever the deck plan is for the ship that this robot's working on, those files are in his memory. The crew is defined by a crew roster and personnel records. The individual filling the captain slot on the crew roster may add additional crew members through verbal instruction without uploading a personnel file. Now, idiosyncrasies. I wrote some idiosyncrasies for this robot. Now, the first idiosyncrasy is that I decided that since he's there to help the crew by monitoring the engineering functions of the ship, that he would add 1% DCR to the ship. That should be 2 and not of. To the ship, but duplicate copies of this robot will not increase this DCR. So if you had 3 of this robot on there, you would not get 3% DCR added to your. It's just if you have 1 or more, you get 1% DCR added to your ship for the aid that this robot provides. When adding a new crew member by verbal instruction, the robot must take 3 minutes to circle the individual and do a complete scan of them for its files. This process is not required if a personnel file is uploaded. The robot will then ask them for their Chronocom relay number. Uses a crew roster to determine who to report to. So when it's making a report that something's going wrong, most of the time it's reporting to the engineer, but if it has an issue with a power relay for the ship's laser battery, that crew, the crewman, the gunner crewman might be the one that's contacted. 4, this robot has no boundaries. When following its mission to report an issue as per its programming, and it cannot reach the intended crew member via Chronocom, it will go looking for them. And this includes in their personal quarters and will wake them up if necessary. I just thought that would be a fun thing to have this robot do. Waking crew members up. Oh, by the way, I want to let you know, there's a blip on the CO2 gauge. I just thought that would be a nuisance value item to add. So that's one of his idiosyncrasies. And it will not clean anything without the proper maintenance and cleaning supplies, and will inform the captain of the ship or the ship's purser of that fact only at the moment when the supplies run out. So you could be on mid-cruise into deep space, and suddenly this robot goes, oh, by the way, I'm done cleaning because there are no more supplies. And unless you actually radically change its programming, it's not going to clean until you purchase new supplies. I thought that was another little nuisance value for the player characters that this robot could create that they might not actually do anything about, but something they just kind of tolerate, that the robot's a little quirky because he is effectively a custom robot. So we didn't name him, and he needs a name. So something, how about the crew named him Bobby? It could be anything. The name could be changed. For now, we're putting Bobby in as a working name. And this is what his stat listing would look like, because the big stat block is always overkill. So the stat listing here, the basics that you need: his stamina, his range melee attack number. Oops. That doesn't belong there. His initiative modifier is reaction speed. His movement should go here. 60 meters. Turn, and we'll add the 30 meters per turn for the compressed air. His programs are security lock, attack defense, special damage control monitoring program. And his installed equipment are infrared optics, Toxi rad gauge, and chronocom. Now note, if you're going to send this robot against pirates, you may wish to arm it with a weapon from the ship's locker, but you don't normally have the robot carry around weapons. They generally end up being a secured item. You secure that in the weapons locker. Crew might be allowed to secure weapons in their quarters. But I just figured that he would not have an installed weapon, and you could actually tailor the weapon that you give him to what you see as a threat. So if the pirates are coming through and they don't appear to have albedo screens, you might give him a laser. But if they have albedo screens, you might turn around and give him a sonic devastator as a rock, paper, scissors towards whatever defenses the pirates appear to be using. So this is our robot and our first day of Star Frontiers Robotics. And I hope you've enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching. Thanks to all my subscribers. You guys are great. And don't forget to download the document on this robot in the show notes. And I'll see you in the frontier.